You're listening to the Limitless Leadership Podcast, the podcast designed to help automotive repair shops learn how to lead, coach, train, and manage their team better by sharing proven techniques and thought-provoking interviews from industry leaders. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's today's episode.
Hey everyone, before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know about the training that Limitless Leadership is doing in Dallas, January 16th through the 18th, 2025. We're going to be doing a leadership, performance, sales, and technician hybrid type of training. No one else in the industry is doing this. Hosted by Standard Motor Products, will be in Dallas at their facility, January 16th through the 18th. If you have any interest in joining, this training is industry leading. Reach out to me via email, josh@thebeardedleader.com for more information. Hope to see you there. Now, let's get into today's episode. Thank you again for joining us. Once again, have another fantastic episode of the Limitless Leadership Podcast with an incredible guest today, a fellow coach in the automotive repair industry. We're joined today by a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a business owner. She owns a shop, and she is a coach in the industry, as I shared. Our guest today is a friend of mine, Maryann Croce. Maryann, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. I'm excited to introduce you to our audience. I had the pleasure of sharing a training room with you at the ASTA Expo, and was able to sit in on a couple of your presentations, one of which was on the 7 pillars of leadership, which is what I'm going to ask you to share today. And I was really, I just really enjoyed being able to get to know you, to meet you, and to share some best practices. And I felt the synergy and the alignment that day. So I'm glad that we get a chance to be on an episode together today.
Yeah, I did too. I felt that right away. So it was great to be able to meet you and listen in on your class as well.
Well, thank you, Maryann. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask, I'm going to pass the mic to you and just ask you to share, who is Maryann Croce? How do you do what you do? What do you do? All the things. Just give us all the details of Maryann.
Wear all the hats, right?
Yes.
Yes. So people may know me as a shop owner and a coach in the automotive space. My husband and I, Tony, have owned an automotive repair shop, a transmission shop in Connecticut. This is our 25th year. And we are very fortunate. We are very blessed to have an amazing team. And it really, I'm starting the story there because it's because of that team and the people that we surround ourselves with that I'm able to do all the things that I do. And my kids are all grown. And my husband was the technician that always wanted to own his own shop. So my background was from banking. I had more of a corporate background. So we put our skill sets together and realized that they really complemented one another when it came time to open up our shop. He ended up buying a shop that he worked at for a few years. The owner was ready to sell, and we decided to purchase it. And the Croce's, that Croce's was born. That was it. So we were really excited. And I was able to really look at the business from a different perspective than he did. So he looked at himself and kind of put this hat on, or this identity, as a technician who happened to own a shop. And when I would go out and meet people, whether it was through the chamber or networking events, I looked at it as I was a business owner that happened to own an automotive repair shop. So we were looking at it through different lenses. And I learned very quickly with all the different parts of the business that we were responsible for, that I wanted to become a better owner. I wanted to make myself dispensable and really empower my team. And that's why it was so important for me to have great people on board. So it afforded me, by doing that, it really afforded me to be able to get involved with other things. And that's where the coaching came in, because I don't have to be at my shop every day. So I wanted to be able to share what I've learned, share what we've implemented with others, and really have them, because I know so many in the industry are working so hard, really good people doing right by their customers and really serving their community. But, we all tend to get stuck from time to time. So being able to share that with other people so they could have what I call work-life fulfillment.
Work-life fulfillment is something I think everyone would appreciate more of. Maryann, I applaud you for a number of things. One of which, first, congratulations for being open for 25 years. That's an incredible accomplishment. And I want to ask how you've been able to stay open and grow through all of the changes in the industry in conjunction with the fact that you own a business with your spouse. So how are you making both work?
Yeah, right. Well, those are kind of like two loaded questions there. The first one, owning a business with my spouse, that the biggest challenge that we had to figure out was how to work together. Right? That was like the biggest challenge for us. And I've told this story before, but I think it's so important because as we know, when something's going on at home, you may have a team member that shows up at work and you're kind of like, they're off today. So is there anything going on? Are you okay type of thing? Is there anything that going on that we should know about? And you may find that personal life is affecting work and vice versa. Somebody will come home from work and the family could be like, did you have a good day? Or were you a little bit off today? Was it a bad day? So we try to compartmentalize everything, but it does overflow, and people that care about us and want to support us, they will see that. So learning how to work together for us was a really important thing. Our biggest challenge was when we were struggling with something at the same time, whether it was learning a new skill or training on something, and we were out of our comfort zone. When we were in our comfort zone, it was very easy to support the other person when they were struggling with something, and we could do that. But when we were both going through it at the same time, we couldn't see each other struggle. So once we realized that, then we were able to kind of unpack that and say, okay, we can be there for one another and kind of talk it out. So that had to be the biggest challenge.
So this is interesting, Maryann, because something that we often hear in the coaching industry is how growth and comfort can't coexist. And so my question is, how do you maintain a level of getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, but at the same time recognize that when both of us are uncomfortable, we're experiencing pretty many challenges. How do you navigate through that? Like, how did you overcome those challenges early on?
Right. So what we learned how to do was communicate better, and really say, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be working on this. It's new. So this is a project that I have, really identifying it as a project. And then the other person would say, okay, I get it. I can be there to support you. And this is how I can support you in that. Whether it was because our children were young at the time, whether it was going home and making dinner, or, even picking up dinner and having, them taken care of, getting their homework done, something like that. And then I could work on what I needed to work on. It was 2 weeks I was going to need to really kind of dive into this. And once it was done, it was done. So I think that communication, I think it was either over a cup of coffee or, maybe a glass of wine at night. I don't know. But we decided that we were going to sit down and we were going to figure it out. And basically, that's what we did. It was really about communicating and letting each other know that if we were starting some kind of a project, something that we were going to be working on, a skill that we had to develop or something that we had to learn, now you're stepping out of your comfort zone. So you're in unknown territory, right? You're really going to challenge yourself. And when we started communicating that, we were better able to support one another.
We know that when there's a breakdown in communication, voids tend to get created, and oftentimes negativity fills those voids. So as you know, as a fellow coach, Maryann, at the root of many of the challenges that our clients are experiencing, it is communication or a lack thereof. Something you shared earlier that I want to touch on is you had the desire to make yourself dispensable. So for our audience listening, that's a tough paradigm shift that they may not even know the importance of making. Why is it so important that we as leaders create that space for our team so that we can back up and be dispensable?
Well, when you start thinking about what you want to accomplish, your goals, when you really dive deep into that, it can be a little bit frustrating. Like, how am I going to get there? And I realized very early on that you cannot do it alone. There's no way that you can do it by yourself. We could take our business to a certain level. We had a certain capacity without any team members, without any help, without any guidance. But once we were able to add team members and grow our team, all of a sudden that capacity grew. So I realized early on that for us to have a healthy relationship, to have a healthy business, so that we could actually go out there and be a resource to our community, a resource to our team, and even the next generation of young men and women coming into the industry, to do all of that, we could not do it alone. We needed to have people there. So really developing them and empowering them so that they took pride, they were able to achieve the goals that they wanted to. That was the kind of environment that we wanted to create. And I realized that I wanted to make myself dispensable, because if that business revolved around me, if I was the business, if Tony and I were both, that's it, we are defined as the business, it really limited me. Mm. And there was so much that I wouldn't be able to do. My business wouldn't be manageable. As we grew, as we got older, it wouldn't be manageable, and it wouldn't be sellable, because we would be it. And once we were gone, there wouldn't be anything really left. And to tell you the truth, I see this happen to too many owners. They get really caught up in the newness, that like first stage of business when you're a startup, the grit and the drive and the doing it all, which I get it. That's something that you have to do. But unfortunately, what happens to many is that you create habits and routines that you still operate that way. So 10 years, 12 years, 15 years in, you're still operating that same way. So that's what I found, the mindset that really made me think of making myself dispensable very quickly, because I knew that we couldn't grow if we weren't.
That's so important. That's a mindset shift that so many of us need to hear. And what I love is already you just dropped an incredible nugget that I know we can all take away from this and move better than we were before. And we haven't even gotten into the 7 pillars of leadership. So, I love hearing what you're talking about. You're basically saying we can go fast alone, but we can go further together. And so, let's get into the 7 pillars of leadership. This is something I can't wait for our audience to hear. So I'm going to just, again, floor is yours. What is the 7 pillars of leadership, Maryann?
So the 7 pillars of leadership is really for shop owners, because a lot of times they don't think of themselves, they don't identify as a leader. They, think of themselves as a tech who owns a shop. So I'll go over these, and there are 7. The first one is listen and pay attention. A lot of times we talk too much, but we're not really good at listening. Making people feel heard makes you a better leader. So when people feel heard, it's just amazing, right? How they feel connected, how they feel understood. So when you ask meaningful questions, open-ended questions to understand your team's needs, that's very powerful. Take in the information that they're giving you and don't make assumptions. Just take it all in and absorb it, but don't assume. And then really act on the feedback that they're giving you. Shows that you are really listening to them. The second one is show respect to earn respect. So your team won't follow a leader that they don't respect. There's a lot of people out there that have a title and they're a title only leader, but people aren't really following them. They're just doing what they're told because they're supposed to. It's a different environment when people really respect a leader. So respect is a two-way street. Show it first to receive it. we've heard it, you have to earn it. And that's basically what it is. Recognize individual contributions and value everyone's input. Doesn't matter what their role is in the company. Every single person is valuable. Their role is valuable, and treat them, as such. The third,
Sorry, keep on going.
the third one is be humble and stay curious. I love a curious mindset. Kids have this. And then, we get to a certain age and somehow we lose it. It's not grown up to have this curious type of mindset, right? But watch children. It's amazing how much they learn. Don't act like you know it all, because you don't have to know it all, and it's okay.
Wait, Maryann, we've got to pause there, because what you just shared is something we all need to be reminded of. As a leader, you're saying we don't have to have all the answers. We don't need to know everything.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have to.
That's so good.
And it takes the pressure off of you as an owner, as a leader. It really does. So ask questions. When you ask them, it really builds confidence in your team. You're encouraging the critical thinking and shared problem solving. Let's figure this out as a team. So now everyone's giving input. And here's the other thing. If there's something going on in your business, in your shop, by having that curious mindset and really being humble and saying, look, I don't know, talk to me about this, you're able to spot out small issues early before they become bigger problems. It could be, one person not getting along with another person type of thing. And you can really spot that out and people feel heard. The next one, number 4, is be a source of encouragement. So everyone faces challenges. Everyone who's listening has gone through some tough stuff in their life. So your support matters. This is seeing people as people and really offering understanding and empathy during those tough times is huge. It means so much to people. Helping them navigate through obstacles really shows that you're in it together. There may be things that you can do and share with them, support them when they're going through those tough times. So a little bit of encouragement for that person can really reignite their drive. The 5th one is own your mistakes. So hiding mistakes damages trust. Admitting them builds it. This is huge. Because again, we don't have to know everything. So if we make a mistake as owners, as leaders, we're human. But what you're doing by really owning up to them and admitting them is you're setting an example by acknowledging errors openly. When you make a mistake, you're openly saying, hey, I was supposed to get that done and I missed it. How are we going to make this right for the customer? And now the team comes in and makes suggestions to really help. This creates a culture where learning from mistakes is the norm. We don't want to make the same mistakes over and over again, but we're learning from the mistakes that we make. And it really shows your team that it's okay to take a calculated risk, right? And that really gives them permission to make judgment and assessment in situations when you're not there, and they know that you're going to have their back.
That's a level of empowerment that a lot of leaders unfortunately miss the mark on, is to be able to give their team permission to make mistakes and potentially fail at something. And I think too many of us, we identify failure as such a negative thing. And I'm not going to promote, hey, let's go fail at something today. But what I am going to say is, if we're not failing, we're not learning. And if we're not learning, we're not growing. And if we're going to grow through anything, we've got to be willing to go through anything. And so when we fail at something, that doesn't make us a failure. Those actions don't become our identity. And so being able to give your team permission to make mistakes goes such a long way. I want to hang on this one for just a moment, Maryann. On number 5, the 5th pillar is to own your mistakes. As a shop owner of 25 years, I know that you can think of a handful of customers who maybe the relationship started out a little rocky. Maybe there was something that happened in the shop and they were upset. Maybe they left you a negative review. Maybe there was something that happened, and I'm not even saying it was your team's fault for that matter. But what I am saying is they may have not been happy with the service that was provided, but knowing you the way that I do, I know that you and your team were able to correct that mistake or right that wrong or fix it. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about a time, or you're thinking about a guest or a customer who has been a loyal customer of yours for years, oftentimes what we find is the ones who we take ownership of the mistake that we made, or we own the mistakes, we take accountability, we take responsibility, that creates a level of trust for that person moving forward that is really hard to find in this industry, because we all know that this industry lacks, well, I'll say historically, there's a lack of trust in the industry. And thankfully, with people like yourself, Maryann, you are changing the industry in such a positive way because you're encouraging and empowering your team to own their mistakes. And so
Absolutely.
I just want to hang on that and really acknowledge the fact that when we can embrace this concept of, look, like things are not always going to be pretty. They're never going to be perfect. But when we own our mistakes, that's creating a level of trust that this industry desperately needs.
It's creating an environment too that top talent and achievers, they want to be around. They want to, because they know they want to grow, and they can grow in that environment where a different type of environment doesn't allow them to do that. And it giving, to your point, giving them the support and allowing them to make decisions without fear of ramification, fear of criticism. Why did you do it that way? That's not the way I would have done it. It's not even that they did anything wrong or that they made a mistake, but sometimes the way you present it to them can really hold them back from making those decisions. And they may make a decision while you're away that actually would turn out better than you would have done it yourself.
Thank you. Yes. So good.
Yeah. So giving them that power to do that is huge. So number 6 is align incentives with your goals. We want to choose the way we incentivize really carefully. We want to do it wisely. So make sure that everyone is working towards the same outcome. When you have misaligned incentives, it leads to frustration and shortcuts. Focus on efficiency, quality, not just speed. So we want to choose rewards that reinforce the behaviors that you really want. And, this can happen a lot in shops when they're looking at productivity. But if that is the incentive, you can have frustrated customers. You could have work that comes back to you because mistakes were made. So you want to make sure that you're rewarding, yes, getting the job done, but also the quality and the customer satisfaction as well. So this way, everyone is on the same page.
It sounds like at the root of this particular one, and as I listened to you share the first 5, or now the first 6, really at the root of all of them, it is communication. It goes back to communication and the importance of communication.
Right. And how it plays out, right? All the different ways that communication plays out. And the last one is, I think this is maybe the most important, but it's choose words carefully. And this is because words matter. Feedback should guide people. It should not attack people. So constructive feedback, when it's given respectfully, it's well received. So you be direct, but you want to be tactful. And again, you want to avoid personal attacks. Don't confront somebody. Don't have a conversation in front of other people. People will get their guard up. You want to use your words. You want to be careful, and you want to use your words to lift people up, not tear people down.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it, but sometimes it is what you say. And, something that I really appreciate, admire, and respect about you, Maryann, is you recognize how to show up for people, how to show up for your team. And I'm confident that if I were to go ask any of your team members, how did they receive Maryann's coaching, and whether it be from a client perspective, but primarily from your team members' perspective, I would venture to guess they're going to say, I receive her coaching as feedback. It's not criticism. It's not condemnation. It's not judgment. They receive your coaching as feedback because they know it's coming from a good place. And if you're watching this episode on YouTube, I'm pointing to my heart here. and they know that you have their best interest in mind. And so again, communication at the root of this, but so important, choosing your words carefully. Very good. So those are the seven. Okay, so let's review the seven. So I wrote them down as you're sharing them. Number 1, listen and pay attention. Number 2, show respect to earn respect. Number 3, be humble and stay curious. Number 4, be a source of encouragement. Number 5, own your mistakes. Number 6, align incentives with your goals. And number 7, choose words carefully. Folks, if you're listening and you're saying, hey, what's the recipe for success to be a great leader? This is the golden ticket, if you will, that quick silver bullet. 7 pillars. That's it. That's all you need. You do the 7 pillars, you got it. So, okay. Obviously, I'm a little facetious here when I say that, Maryann. I mean, now these 7 things are critical to helping you grow and develop as a leader, which helps you grow and develop those you are leading. A couple notes that I thought of as you were sharing these is how what you're describing is the ability to influence, because as a leader, we get to influence those around us, and we can't influence if we can't connect. We connect through authenticity, humility, and vulnerability. And so all 7 of these really align with that concept of connecting through authenticity, humility, and vulnerability. We have to exercise all 3 of those in order to do these 7 effectively. And lastly, what you really reiterated and emphasized was the importance of every person's voice deserves to be heard. Every opinion should matter. Every idea should be considered. And when you can create an environment for your team where they all know Maryann is going to show up for me today, which means I'm going to show up for her and show up for the rest of the team. When the leader gets better, everyone gets better. And it's incredible. And as a coach, you know this, when you start showing up for your people start showing up differently in a great way.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely. I found my experience with leadership and developing my leadership and going out and seeking that really helped me, because one of the challenges that we had in our shop was, okay, how do we hire top talent? We're saying that we want to be, a top shop. We want to be the best in our area. We really want to be a resource for our community. But how do we do that if we're not attracting those type of people, those top people, those achievers, those ones that really care about their work and are proud of it? So I found developing my leadership skills really helped me become a better owner. And in the day-to-day, what it helped me do is, once I became better at communicating and interviewing and really listening, and those skills developed, all of a sudden, I felt like I was really attracting the right people. So it wasn't that they weren't out there. It was, once I developed my skills, it was easier to find them.
the greatest investment we can ever make is in ourselves. And, as a coach, I'm sure you have your own coach. I have my own coach, even though I'm a coach. And, the beautiful thing about this is that in an industry where there's a lot of coaches, you and I both believe in the concept of collaboration and not competition. We have an abundance mindset, and we know that there are going to be certain folks out there who may resonate more with you or more with me, or vice versa. And I think it's so important that we are helping each other grow and develop not only ourselves, but our businesses as well. I'll ask you, Maryann, how can our audience get in touch with you if they're interested in being coached by you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so the best way to get me is via the website, which is smallbizvantage.com. And they can learn more about me and about my 3-day weekend system.
Excuse me, 3-day weekend. Did that perk up anyone else's ears or just mine? 3-day weekend. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, 3-day weekend, right?
Okay, if you're interested in the 3-day weekend, you want to share now, or is this like the teaser? You got to call Maryann to find out.
No, it's really simple. So the idea of 3-day weekends really came from, not really having a business that it's consuming you, that you feel you have to be going 24/7 for. The idea was for you to gain back 10 hours a week in 90 days. And now handing things off, learning how to delegate, right? All of the things that are holding you back from doing that, and really having a life, having a rewarding business and a rewarding life. So, yeah, that was really the idea behind it. I put together a framework that I've shared with others, and Tony and I use and implement, and it afforded me the ability to get involved with associations and speak and coach and really, practice what I preach, right? So I'm actually in my shop on average 5 days a month because I am so fortunate to have the amazing team that I do. Kudos goes out to them. And it gives me a great opportunity to best serve the industry and people that I really admire and respect.
Love that. And I mean, you're literally the epitome of someone who is growing and developing their people. You said a key word about delegation. Delegation is something that a lot of us struggle with, and this is one of those areas of opportunity that will allow us to get a 3 or 4, a 5 day weekend. I mean, eventually we're gonna be working like Maryann. I mean, now I want to backtrack. I know you're working many more days than 5 days, but being in your shop 5 days as a business owner, kudos to you, because that speaks to your level of leadership and a testament to how you empower those that you are entrusting with your business, which is very strong. Maryann, so I'll ask you. So you may have already answered a little bit of this question, but the question is, what advice would you give to anyone who is considering starting their own business or their own shop?
Yeah. So at the beginning, what I would suggest is focus on building a business that doesn't depend solely on you. So that sounds like a big thing when you first start out. But what you're doing is you're reverse engineering, or however you want to say it, you're starting with the end in mind. So I would suggest that from day one, really start documenting your processes and really prioritize understanding your numbers and developing a strong team that you can trust. Because the goal should be for anyone in any type of business, even if you're not in, auto repair, the goal really should be to create a business that's profitable, sustainable, and enjoyable. And that way, it's rewarding and you can enjoy life as well.
That's the whole goal. That's the end in mind for a lot of us when we start a business venture. But many of us get into it and we're like, I just don't have time. I can't do this. I can't do that. And we just feel like we're doing all the things. You alluded to earlier how a lot of us do wear a number of different hats. How do we buy back our time while wearing multiple hats at the same time?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I say compartmentalize. What tool that I use that really was a game changer for me, and it sounds simple, but once you put it into practice, it's really amazing. And it's theme days. So, or you can call them batch days, but there's 5 pillars in every single business, no matter what kind of business you have. And it's people, it's sales, marketing, the financials, and the operations. Those are basically 5 pillars in every single business. And most owners have their hands in everything. So to compartmentalize this, the idea is pick a day. For me, it's Fridays that are financials. So I will go over things to do with financials on Fridays. And it's not the whole day. It's maybe a couple of hours, depending on what project I have going on. It could be a call to an accountant or a bookkeeper. It might be looking at some reports or things like of that nature. But the idea is the financials never get put on the back burner. So you don't go by and say, oh my gosh, it's been a month. It's been a month and a half since I looked at any of these reports. That too busy, right, mode that you were talking about, that doesn't happen because you set that time up in your calendar. If it's marketing, and even if you're outsourcing some of that, or you get to a point where you say, this is too much, I do have to outsource some of this, even if it's a phone call to the company that you're using for marketing. The idea is pick a day, and that's the day that you're going to stick with it. And that really helps you clear your head and stay focused on what you're working at in the present. And your head is not filled with all this other stuff that you're thinking how you're going to manage it all and get it all done. So I think it's really important to compartmentalize, and that way you can give it 100%. And it's amazing without interruptions and clear focus how much you can get done in an hour or even 2 hours. With interruptions, it could take you all day to get this one thing accomplished.
Well, and that goes back to the days where I know a lot of us have had these days where you have busy days, but you don't have productive days. And so compartmentalization is the key. So, okay, here's what I'm taking away. We got financial Fridays, we got marketing Mondays, we got people every day, right? We're focusing on people every day, all day. So, Maryann, last question is, what is the greatest advice that you have ever received from a mentor or a coach?
Well, this was a few years back, probably you lose count, but this is from my mentor, Todd Herman, and he asked me a question, and wow, it was profound. Is this a you thing or a true thing?
Oh, that's strong.
And I have shared that with clients. I have shared that with friends, right? I have shared that with business owners, inside and outside of the automotive industry. And I'll tell you, it's really powerful, because when you're going through something in your head and it's holding you back, or it's a blind spot, because we all have them, you have to sit down and ask yourself, wait a minute, is this, something that is a me thing? It's my thinking, or is it really a true thing? And it's eye-opening when you ask yourself that question.
That is so good. Well, this is a true thing, Maryann. This was one of my favorite episodes to do. So thank you for joining us on the Limitless Leadership Podcast. Really appreciate you being here today.
Well, it was a pleasure. I was honored to be here.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Limitless Leadership Podcast. Each episode, we look to transform our skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results. So have a great day, everyone. Don't forget to smile today. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.